Can you talk a little bit about like Column's growth strategy? Like, is it a very small ICP, like very defined, or is it wider than I think? Because in my head, it's like a very small group of people who would buy Column services, but maybe I'm wrong about that.
I thought so too, and it is wrong. So I joined thinking, okay, we're basically selling to fintechs. That's not that, large of a market, or at least it's a large market, but the ICP is fairly focused. And I think what I've found is, and it's a blessing and a curse, is actually because we're like infrastructure, financial infrastructure, our TAM is enormous. And I think that's great as a shareholder and whatever. It just means it's hard to focus. We've found that, the most innovative fintech companies are an ideal customer, but also these like legacy insurance companies, like they have super complex payments and a lot of pain associated to that. And so, I will say it's a struggle to really like narrow in on the ICP because we find pain that we can solve in so many different kind of company profiles. I think the way we focus right now a little bit is like we are, a premium solution. And so, our deal sizes are fairly big, and that's a little bit of how we frankly like filter and qualify. And I think what we're also trying to do, which can be hard, is just like we're early. Keep an open mind. There's obviously a balance between we want focus because that's going to allow us to execute really well, but we also still need to approach kind of go to market with a lot of curiosity so that we don't come across an account and say, oh no, they're not our ICP, but we say, okay, well, are they? Oh wow, okay, all of a sudden we uncover like a whole new segment of the market that could be extremely lucrative. And so for me, that's been a little bit tough to really keep that like open mind and that curiosity, because I'm tempted to like do the go to market thing of like finding the ICP, focus on it, execute on it, but rather like, okay, we're still learning, we're still kind of expanding. And hopefully that's what gets us to, be an incredible $100 billion company. But it's definitely like a give and a take.
Yeah, you need to have like two sides of your brain working at the same time. It's like you got to execute to hit the short-term numbers, but then obviously keep experimenting. And then yeah, I mean it totally makes sense. Like increase. I assume you have like some minimum or something to make sure that there's supposed to be so much noise of like all the fintechs startups who've just raised a ton of money and maybe want to use it but don't want to pay. And so yeah, like a juicy minimum contract size probably weeds out a lot of the noise, which is very
Yeah,
helpful.
but
Yeah.
it's tough, right? Because we want to work with the most innovative, like newest companies too, and so that's hard to focus as well. Like, gosh, the idea of like the coolest new fintech, like that we might price them out, like that doesn't feel right either. So, anyways, we're still kind of figuring out where our ICP is going to be.
Yeah, the thing we did at Lattice was like, we had minimums, but then if we noticed that somebody like a company was a grower, like they raised a bunch of money or something like that, like Cruise, I think was a good example of this, where they started really small and then ballooned to like 1,000 employees. Like, but if you can catch those growers early on, it's
Yeah.
huge. Like those are the best ones, and they grow up with you and they'll never rip you out because it's just like part of the story. Yeah, super interesting. So is it more of like enterprise sales motion?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, I think again, part of what drew me to Column was there are still again is both, right? Like this comes from I think Williams DNA and a lot of the folks who joined the company. Like we still want to be the like most developer friendly, banking financial infrastructure company out there. So like I think our docs are amazing. The tech is amazing. We try to be extremely friendly to developers who like have questions, want to play around in Sandbox, or even we often will, allow folks to open a bank account just for themselves or their company and play around, like see what it's like to move real money with Column. So we still have these like very developer friendly roots, but the deal cycles are very enterprisey, 6, 7 figure deals, more involved, very complex. So again, I'm finding myself like at the trying to marry kind of those two motions. But I think maybe that's what I like most, right? I think the idea of being at like just doing kind of the Oracle, like big enterprise sales stuff is just, I just can't get on board with that. And then kind of trying to find that marriage of like so developer friendly, great product that the user actually values. And then the like, enterprise sales motion that warrants these giant deal sizes certainly, feels great as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the best go-to-market motion. I mean, it's the same thing I'm trying to do at Doc, and it's what worked for Slack and Twilio and all of these companies, Confluent, all these companies, right? You have this self-serve that automates sort of the low end of the market and is like a lead gen for the rest of the business. And then you have the big enterprise sales assist motion, which closes those big deals. So like, I mean, it works. Like it's worked for a bunch of companies. I'm sure it'll work for Column.